Hmm. Okay, there we go. Hmm. Go ahead, turn volume down. All right, so comment if you are watching. If you're tuned in, you can hear me. Please comment below. I want to pin myself to the camera and then I can start teaching. Pin myself to the camera, pin myself to the screen. Mic check, mic check. Oh, there we go. All right, so all righty. Okay, so welcome, welcome, welcome. What's going on, everyone? It is Dakisha Williams, your um your webinar strategist. Good morning, good afternoon. All right, so we're streaming to YouTube, probably streaming to multiple platforms. All right, I am going to share my screen. I'm gonna try to share my screen. It has been uh we're gonna roll with it though. Present. Um, let me see. Share. Oh, I don't think I like that. I like side by side. So I'm wondering how that's going to look. Oh, that's the wrong screen. Um, side by side. There we go. I didn't show y'all all the business. All right. Hi, April. Don't mind me. I'm over here like playing behind the scenes with technology. All right, I think I have it now. And I am, so it's not sharing technically side by side. I'm like in a corner and I don't want to be in a corner.
So am I the only one on Zoom?
On Zoom, yes.
Oh, okay. It was side by side, was your image on one box and then it was the presentation in another.
So you can see me side by side? Okay, I can see it now. It doesn't look like that on YouTube, but I'm gonna leave it as is. And how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing all right, multitasking.
All right. Well,
I have,
I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm here live in the Zoom room, but we're also streaming on YouTube as well. And so typically what I like to do is I like to talk about how to enroll more clients into your signature program. But today, not only am I going to talk about how to enroll more clients into your signature program, I also want to focus on how to utilize AI to do so. And so, um, with the emergence of AI, I know that we're utilizing the tool. I just don't know that we're utilizing the tool to the full, to its fullest ability, I guess is the best thing for me to say. So, number one, like I said, thank you so much for being in the room, regardless whether you are watching live in the Zoom room, regardless if you're on YouTube, or if you're watching the replay. We will leave the replay up for a little bit. So, the client enrollment blueprint. And so, just a little bit about me before I get started into the actual training. My name is Dakisha Williams, webinar and business strategist. I've been in business for well over 15 years. I am a award-winning business strategist. There's actually an award right over top of my shoulder, but I have my background blurred out. There's some on my wall as well. I think the one behind me was awarded last year for being a six-figure business owner. I own four companies. I have a publishing company, a business consulting company, and coaching company. We have a tech company, and we have a virtual assistant company. Trust me, I have help. There is no way I can do this all by myself. I started hosting webinars back in 2014 when I was tapped on the shoulder to help entrepreneurs create six figures using webinars in their business. I was not making six figures in my business, so I went out there and I did 8 webinars. Yep, you heard me right. I did 8 webinars in, what do we do? 8 webinars in 30 days, and I ended up making $15,000 in commission. You can type in the chat, $15,000 in commission. So I'm just here to talk to you a little bit about my journey, not really my journey, but what I've experienced and what I know to work. And so, as we get started off, one of the first things that I want to talk to you about is the biggest revenue killers in your business. And so, if you're listening to this particular training, it's because you're trying to figure out number one, how do I enroll clients? Number two, how do I attract the right client? So, if you're just joining, drop where you're tuning in from in the chat. Love to know where you guys are tuning in from, and also how did you connect with me? That's very important as well. We like to know where did you find out about Takesha C. Williams? So back to the three biggest revenue killers. Number one is underpricing. And this one I see a lot. A lot of entrepreneurs, they come into the space and they feel like, oh, well, I'm only going to charge 197 or 97 because I'm brand new in this space. What I like to tell people is 9 times out of 10, you utilize the same skill set that you have in your corporate job or from your background. So whatever background you have that creates the expert that you are, please lean on that. Lean on that heavily so that you walk in your zone of genius. Don't come into the space of entrepreneurship because a lot of times, yes, I do come into contact with entrepreneurs that are either building their business while they still work a full-time job, or they are building, okay, Chicago, they're building their business because they lost a job, right? So whatever the case may be, I want you to, it's always a bug in here when I start to do my presentation. That is so annoying. Whatever the case may be, I want you to lean on your experience and don't allow it to cause you to undercharge in your zone of genius. So that's number one. Number two is the lack of systems. So if you don't know, I'm actually a certified online business manager. My background is operations. I love all things operations. So yes, I'm going to talk to you about webinars. Yes, I'm going to talk to you about client enrollment. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make sure you have an infrastructure and your system in place. It wouldn't be me if I did not make sure that you had those things in place. So what does that mean? Well, what type of system? A system where you can have repeatable sales. So if that's a client enrollment system, that means that you're doing the exact same um, enrollment event every single week, every single month, or twice a month. But I want to make sure that you have a process in place where you are enrolling clients into your business consistently and what we like to call MRR. So write that down in your notes. Monthly recurring revenue. When you're doing consistent events and you're enrolling clients consistently in your business, it allows you to create MRR. All right. And then, oh my God, really? That is the most annoying thing ever. The last piece is um no audience. So if you are building your audience, one of the most frustrating things that can happen for an entrepreneur is to not have a audience. So you need help with the visibility. So it's nothing to have an incredible offer and no one knows it exists and no one knows that you exist either. So those are the three things that I find that most entrepreneurs um they struggle with as they are building their business. All right, let's see. Let's make sure this goes the right way. All right, so as we kick it off, the number one thing that you have to do is you have to have the mindset of a CEO, not the employee mindset. I see this so often that when we're shifting from corporate America, we have to shift our mindset as well. So when you're moving from building a business, walking in the role of entrepreneurship, it is definitely an adjustment. I've seen a lot of people leave the corporate space and they're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with my time now? Trust and believe us entrepreneurs, we get up every single day and you should have a a schedule, right? So you should spend honestly 80% of your time marketing your business and 20% of the time in your back office. Oops. Let me say that again because I know everyone that's actually going to see this training are probably doing the exact opposite. You're spending 80% of your time trying to build funnels, trying to create, the next biggest thing, and then you're spending 20% of the time marketing your business. Well, that's one of the reasons why you're in the position that you are now with the lack of clients or the lack of marketing is because in all actuality, and I want you to write this down, you should be spending 80% of your time doing the marketing activities, doing the revenue generating activities. Write that down. Revenue generating activity. And so when we consume ourselves with the operational task, and I know some people are like, well, what if I'm the only person in my business? That's why we're going to talk about how AI can kind of remove you as the bottleneck. But you keep your prices low, hoping to attract a higher volume. You get up in the morning and you're operating without a visual map. Like where do you really want to see your business? And what action items need to happen in order for you to get to where you want to be in business? We also see the fear of selling. But what if you just shifted the way that you look at things? I love to share the quote that when you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at change. That is Wayne Dyer. All right. And so what if you just had the perception that people will pay if you help them solve a problem today? Let me say that one more time. People will pay if you help them solve a problem today. And so I want you to think about the GPS, and I teach this all the time. So me most recently I drove down to Durham. All right. So I drove to Durham, North Carolina. I put my GPS on so I can get to the hotel because I was speaking. All right. So that means that I had a vision. I know exactly where my destination I was headed to. I had a roadmap on how I was going to get there, but I also had to be prepared for any detours. And that's the same thing that we have to look at as an entrepreneur. You should have a clear destination of where you would like your business to be. And then have you taken the time to strategically map out how am I going to get from point A to point B? Some of you like, I got an idea. Okay, well, that's a start. But are you ready for the detours that are going to come along? And baby, I can tell you there's a list of detours. Some of them are going to be the mental detours, meaning I'm not good enough. Nobody's going to nobody's going to buy from me. Nobody's going to show up for me. Those are some of the mental details that I want you to be prepared for. All right. And then focusing on high leverage implementation. So again, when we think about implementation, it should be execution for revenue generating activity, not a $5 an hour task, not a $10 an hour task. All right. That is something that we can utilize at this point. We can create an AI employee or an AI team member to operate the $10 task, the $5 a day task. And I'll share with you a little bit. But here is where you get your CEO permission slip. All right. And this, I want you to give yourself permission to charge premium prices. And I'm going to say that again because I oftentimes come across individuals who don't feel that they are qualified to charge premium prices. So I want you to give yourself permission to charge premium prices. I also want you to print. Look, I can't even talk. I also want you to give yourself permission to say no to clients that are not a good fit. I know that's going to be tough for some people. One of the things that I take pride in is that I get to work with who I want to work with. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I didn't get it. That's going to drive me crazy if I got to talk for the next 45 minutes. um, but so I had a conversation with a accountability partner today. And the first thing she said is, you know how they say all money ain't good money? All money ain't good money. So give yourself permission to use your level of discernment to say no to bad fit clients. And then give yourself permission to outgrow an old business model. So this is more for my entrepreneurs that have been in business. And because there's going to come a point in time in business where you're going to have to make a pivot. And I know we're seeing that a lot right now in the entrepreneurial space. So as we continue on, I like to call this the profit pyramid. So this is where your marketing becomes very important, okay? And the numbers do not lie. So if you feel like you are marketing and you're not attracting your ideal client, let me tell you what's actually happening. And as you can see on the screen, it is a profit pyramid and it is broken up into three sections. Normally, when I teach this, it's one, two, three, four, and five sections, but it's all good. Walk with me, okay? So let's just let's just imagine that you utilize social media. And so, how often are you showing up on social media? You can comment in the chat daily, twice a week, three times a week. I want you to share with us how often are you showing up in social media. Now, here's the reason why I'm asking because based on how often you're showing up, 1 to 3% of the audience that's watching your content is ready, willing, and able to buy. So you are competing against the people that are running ads on any platform and the people that are promoting their business on any platform. What I like to teach is marketing to the 67%. So normally there's three boxes in this particular, in the middle section. There's a box that says 7%. There's a box that says 30%. And then there's a box that says 30%. So there's three boxes in this middle section. And basically, what that consists of is 7% are open to your solution. So if you are a coach, if you are a consultant, if you are an agency owner, there are 7% of your audience who's open to your offer. There is 30% that did not realize that your offer is a solution to their problem. All right. And then there's 30% that never considered utilizing coaching, utilizing speaking, hiring a coach or hiring a consultant, hiring an agency. So our job here is to market and to educate the 67%. If you don't hear anything else that I talk about today, that is the number one piece that I want you to walk away with. Your job is to market to the 67%. And then that bottom section, they're not ready. All right. And so we're going to just let them kind of sit in la la land because they're not ready to make an adjustment in their business. And I'm good with that. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm cool with that. All right. So in business, when we look at marketing, our job of marketing is to take the client through the buyer's journey. The buyer's journey consists of three phases: awareness, consideration, and conversion. I'm going to say that again: awareness, consideration, and conversion. And so, awareness is your social media presence, your live events, your lead magnets. They solve a very, very small problem. But here's what we want people to do. We want people to raise their hand. We want them to raise their hand to say, hey, wait, I have the problem that you solve. Well, what does that look like? So this is where the 7-11 rule comes into play. That means that people have to consume 7 hours of content, 11 touch points across 4 different platforms to build trust. And if you've been in this digital marketing space, they say that we are in a trust recession because during the COVID years, so many people came into the coaching space and didn't really help create transformation for their audience. And so now people are very they're being very cautious about when and how they spend their money. All right. So that's where the 7-11 and 4 becomes very, very important. And then the final piece is where the transaction takes place. And so I like to use conversion events, webinars, workshops, 2-day workshops, or high ticket enrollment conversation. What happens is people will come through the buyer's journey. The best client is a current client. So once you converted them, you want to continue to loop them in as a client, because at every level of success, there's going to be a problem that they have, and our hope is that you can solve that problem. All right. So let's start at the beginning. So phase one, which is the foundational architect, which is how do we create the visibility for our brand? The enrollment vision, we like to define the exact 12-month revenue and client goal that pulls you forward. Once you identify that revenue goal, we help you. Well, we suggest that you have a one-liner formula. All right. That is the formula of I help your ideal client achieve results so that they can get the bigger transformation or the benefit. Once you identify who you serve and how you serve them, then you're going to start attracting your ideal client, because your messaging should be identical to the audience that you solve. One of the things that I've heard in the training recently is when you're looking at, the foundational architecture, and you're looking at identifying your avatar and identifying who you work with and what's the problems that they have. They said something that was very interesting, and they said, what transformation do you want your content to take your ideal client on? I'm just going to let that sit for a second. What transformation do you want your ideal client to go through based on your content? And I said, whoa, I had to sit back and think about that. Because if you were to go to any of my social media platforms, I want you to be able to have some type of transformation as you soak up my content. So I want you guys to think about that as you are following along. So we've identified who you are, who you work with, the transformation that you provide, and then the validation. So you can stress test your audience with the biggest challenge, the cost of the problem, the urgency to solve. Are they willing to invest? And then the previous failures. So I always look at my audience and I say, well, what's the biggest problem that they have? And so most of them are not enrolling clients. Okay, well, if you don't make a decision today to do something about it, what is that going to cost you? And that's very important, because it creates the urgency to solve the problem. That does not mean that I am pushing you to make a decision. But one of the things that my coach always says is the lack of a decision is making a decision. So the fact that you're not making a decision is you making a decision, if that makes sense. So you're making a decision to not make a decision. And when we heard that, it was just like, God, like just stomp all on our toes, why don't you? Okay. All right. So that's just the first phase of the foundational architecture. The second thing you need to have in place is a signature offer. And so usually when I teach this, we talk about price points and how many units you have to sell. But at this point in time, I think you guys are bright enough to know that if you got a $3,000 offer, you got a $30,000 goal, you need to sell 10 units, right? 3,000, 30,000, 10. All right. So pretty simple. But when you think about your signature offer, a lot of people ask this question. It's just like, well, what is my signature offer? Is it a course? Is it a 497 course or is it a $7,000, offer? Dakisha, what really is a signature course? And so I like to let you know that the signature offer is that middle opportunity because anything 497, 997, that's probably going to be a do it yourself level of transformation. Whereas your signature offer is more of a done with you level. So it could be an 8 to 12 week transformation vehicle like a one-on-one or a group retreat, right? Um, and then you want to add bonuses on to that particular signature offer. Those bonuses should solve a problem. And the bonus itself should be so enticing that it's worth the price of entry all by itself. And so when you layer those together, you should be able to come up with some type of premium pricing offer. All right. So when I say signature offer, I'm not talking 497, 997. I'm talking premium pricing. And then the DIY is where you come into the high ticket. So you're 15, 20, $25,000. So if you have any questions as we go through this, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Now, I like to give kind of behind the scenes. So, oh my God, I'm being attacked, y'all. So this is kind of what we have used as a calendar, a content calendar. All right. And so many, 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 many moons ago, when I used to teach the 12-week launch strategy that we created when I first did the 8 webinars in 30 days, I used to use a 12-week launch calendar and I'll share with you the 4 phases, but the launch calendar is made up of the 4 phases. So you have the planning phase, the development phase, the delivery phase, and then you've got the launch mode. So while you're doing that, while you are building in the back end, here is a great way to stay relevant. So look at the different boxes. So the blue boxes are the days where you share tips and strategies and myth busts. I still use this to this day. So these are authority content. So if you ever wanted to know, well, what type of content can I share to create or attract my ideal client, here's a perfect example. So the black box is stories sale. I try to do at least one, maybe 2 story posts every single week. So as you'll see, the first week that you are, planning on launching, you'll do a story post on a Tuesday. The following week is Monday and Thursday. The next week it's Thursday. And then the first week you'll see that you've got a teaser. So here's a sneak peek to what we're doing. So one of the things that I have been doing recently is I've been doing more sneak peeks so more sneak peek or behind the scenes. I do a lot of behind the scenes as to what I'm building using AI, Claude Cowork, Claude Code, ChatGPT, and how did I replace a $30,000 staff position using Claude and AI? So I might drop something once a week and teach what I've been implementing in my business. All right. But I want you to be able to create content around multiple platforms. So I'll give you a perfect example, and hopefully this is helping you guys when it comes to attracting your client so that you can create consistent revenue in your business. Because at the end of the day, if you can't master your message, then you're not going to monetize your message. So anyway, One of the things that I do is we create our content calendar like a month in advance, at least 3 weeks in advance. Now, I will make some adjustments based on the behind the scenes, based on the story. I might get a recent story that I want to share, so I'll make some adjustments to my calendar. I don't want you to be super rigid where it's like, oh, Keisha says on Thursday, I've got to share this. You can make adjustments, all right? But anyway, so I'll take one piece of content, like a video content, and I will chop that video up into multiple okay. I will chop that video up into multiple pieces of content to share on multiple platforms. When it comes to reels, I share those on IG, I share those on YouTube, I share those on TikTok and Facebook Reels. When it comes to written, I'm a Substack girl, I'm a LinkedIn girl, especially with the LinkedIn newsletter and email. All right. So I still do my blogs. I still have video content and I love a good podcast. All right. So that's how you can implement your content. Now, here are some strategies that you can use to enroll more clients into your signature program. So these are four different strategies. I wrote about them in my most recent book. Um, I was looking for a copy of my book, but oh, let me see. I um I sold a lot. Well, I didn't sell them all. They're downstairs, but I sold them at the event that I was at. But we did release a book last year on product launches and how to use a webinar in every launch. So but here are the different type of strategies that I've talked about. And we call these conversion events. All right. So take a screenshot. We call these conversion events. So you have a webinar, which is your traditional 60 to 90 minutes. Um, you can sell anywhere from $9.97 up to 3,000. I say 3,000 if it's your warm market. When you're looking at a challenge, most people do a 3-day challenge where it's daily content, daily assignments, and they sell a mid-ticket price product. So they can sell 7,500. I've seen a $30,000 offer sold from a 5-day challenge. Okay. Workshops, two to 3 days. Highly recommend paid entry, but it's intimate and it's highly qualified leads. You can sell anywhere from $2,000, $10,000. A summit, traditionally, when I've done a summit, we've done multi-day summits where we've had multiple speakers that are sharing their message. And so what it does is it definitely builds your list, but it also gives you massive visibility based on the people that promote and bring their audience into the actual summit. So these are the strategies that I have used. Every single last one of these strategies has generated at least $10,000 for me in my business. Okay. So the next thing, we were talking about the 12-week launch blueprint. Here are the 4 phases of launching. It does not take me 12 weeks anymore. I can do this in 3 weeks. I can do it sometimes in 2 weeks because I've already done my planning. I do my planning every quarter and at the end of the year. So we know what we're going to launch. So you select the launch model from the last slide and then make sure that the offer is validated. Well, what do you mean, Keisha? We want to make sure that the offer is validated, meaning that somebody has actually purchased your offer. So a lot of people call those beta. So you want to do a beta before you do a big launch. A beta does not mean that you offer your services for free. The beta just means that they pay that you're doing your initial cohort. All right. So that's how you validate the offer. So if you've never validated your offer, you got to start there first before you even map out a 45-day runway. So you're probably going to find yourself doing more one-on-one conversations to validate your offer than you are for a webinar or a workshop. And once you get 5 people that you've worked with and you've helped them get results, boom, offer is validated, and now you're ready to launch it to the world. Just my perspective. Phase 2 is the execution piece. This is where you are marketing your launch strategy. Um, you're using your lead generation tools to market to the 67%, and then you're inviting them to the big event. Phase 3 is where you are finalizing all the logistics and then you actually deliver the webinar, whatever that thing, or the challenge, right? So, but you got to make sure you have the system in place. Your tech stack is good, your presentation is tight, your automations are together, and then you launch, right? But here's the piece that people always miss. Um, in your launch mode, you always want to make sure that you are doing the analysis. So, how many people register? How many people show? Who stayed to the end? Um, how many sales? Like, what worked? What did not work? So, I see a lot of people will host a webinar, will host a workshop, but they don't do the analysis. So, they don't know what to change. They do not know what to change. All right. And then the last phase is the actual enrollment conversion phase where you actually get clients. So you can do a conversation or you can pitch from your actual conversion event. So step one is to discover. So identify what's the problem that they have, and then you make the transition into the conversation of how we can work together. So they say yes, you get the payment and you onboard. If there's hesitation, you have to deal with the objections. Um, when you are building out your business or you don't have an audience, I strongly encourage clients or, my tribe, host a webinar, host one every week, host a webinar every other week so that you can start building a list. Who's on that list? People who have the problem that you solve. And here's the thing, see at the bottom, you make more money when you pick up the phone. There's so many people out here in this space, and a lot of them are not utilizing the phone. So, what can you do to separate yourself apart from the competition? Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Um, so earlier I talked about, hopefully you guys don't have any questions, but earlier we talked about like doing the math. So remember, I was like, if you want to make a certain amount, so this is the math of 10K, your offer plus the audience plus the price equals predictable revenue. So for this particular example, you got a $250 offer, you need 40 sales. If you got a $2,500 offer, you need 4 sales a month in order to make $10,000 a month. One of our clients in our mastermind, Dr. Lena, she did a webinar after spending 2 days with us in Richmond at a intensive. And you don't need a lot of people to make money utilizing webinars. And so she had 21 people registered, 10 people show, and she closed 4 people at $3,000. Number one, that's a 40% close rate. She generated $12,000 in a single day from an audience of over 21 people. So whoever says you need big audiences, tell them no, you don't. And Takesha says so. All right, so final phase is the onboarding and the retention. So you want to eliminate buyer's remorse immediately. And you turn new clients into raving clients from day one. Well, here's how you do it. You want to make sure you have an onboarding system. You can never go wrong with an onboarding system. And so you want to make sure you have your welcome email. You unlock the client portal. So if you have a welcome video and a client portal, make it accessible for them. Even if you're doing a group program or a group coaching program or something like that, and the group coaching program doesn't start for 3 weeks, put a welcome video in the membership portal. Put an initial um, what is it called? An assessment where you're finding an intake form where you're finding out more about them. Like put that in the client portal. And that way they have things to do while they're waiting on their first call. So we do an accelerator. It's a 2 day accelerator where we spend 10 hours together. And so when people sign up for the two day accelerator, one of the immediate things they do is they get a welcome email and they get 8 assignments that leads up to the 2 days together. Eight assignment that keeps the buy-in, and it keeps them excited about what's coming up, and us working together. So again, any questions, comment in the chat. If this is making sense, comment in the chat. I see you, YouTube. And so you want to make sure that you establish structured touch points to guarantee um, what in the world? To guarantee that there's consistency in the relationship. I'm trying to read Oh, unrest. So you want to make sure that you have like a 30-day touch point, a 60-day touch point, and a 90-day touch point. Though that goes a really, really long way. And then finally, these are the metrics. So earlier I was talking about when you're doing your launch, how to measure what's working. Here are some of the measurements or the metrics that you can look at. So, when you're driving traffic to a page or a registration page, you want to see how many people are like hitting that page and then how many are opted in. So 20 to 30% is really, really good. Especially when you're doing like ads to a cold audience. So if it's a warmer audience, you should typically see a higher conversion rate. Show rate on a webinar, 30 to 40%. Using SMS can take you from 40 to 50%. And then conversion rate, you want to convert 10% into a call. You can do 8 to 10% into an actual sale from a webinar. So what does that mean? If you have, let's just say 40 people that show up, 10% should take you up on an offer to have a conversation. 8 to 10% should take you up on your offer if you're selling something from that presentation. So as you see, KPIs to track website visitors and email subscribers. Those are the top of funnel, registration rate, show rate, and discovery calls booked. After every launch, you have to ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, and what do we do differently next time? Any questions from anyone? All right. Really quickly, I'm going to go into the other part of the training. And so now you have to remember everything I taught you from the beginning, right? The visibility, the nurturing, the conversion, and then the what is it? Follow up in the client experience. All right, so we're gonna keep rolling. All right, so this is how you scale enrollment without becoming the tech expert. So we talked about the foundational things of, creating the visibility, but let's look at really quickly how you can scale this which without you being a bottleneck. Sorry, we're going to go through pretty much each one of these phases if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check before I be out here making promises. Oh, absolutely. All right, cool, 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 cool. All right. So this is the client journey, and I love, love, love to talk about the client journey. All right. So you've got visibility, you've got consideration, conversion, follow up, and then once you get the client, you got the client experience. So visibility is how you're found, consideration is how you build trust, conversion is when they become a client, follow up is automating the relationship, and then the client experience is when they actually become the client. This is my favorite part, y'all. So you want to attract more leads, nurture prospects faster, and then enroll clients into your signature program. All right. So you don't have a lead problem. You shouldn't have a lead problem. You may have a follow up problem. So if you're not reaching enough of the right people, there's low visibility. What happens is if you don't stay top of mind, they forget you can solve their problem. So once they are ready to pull out that credit card, they're like, "Oh, forgot you do that." So that means you're not staying top of mind or you're not following up consistently after the initial contact, okay? And then you see all the cracks in the funnel. That is an actual funnel. And so your leads are falling up for every piece that we are not implementing or implementing correctly. And so when you're not nurturing a lead, and don't get me wrong, we have all made this mistake. Even me. I'm talking to me, okay? This is why I've been in the lab for 45 days, putting proper systems and processes in place so we don't lose leads in our funnel. All right? So, the universal enrollment equation, visibility plus consideration plus conversion equals consistent clients. Write that down. Visibility, consideration, conversion, which is the buyer's journey. I actually have it behind me. Like I write on walls. My mom talks about me all the time. But the buyer's journey is step one is the visibility engine, which is awareness. Step two is the engagement formula, which is consideration. And then step three is the conversion shortcut, which is your conversion. So this is not anything that I have not been teaching for years. AI accelerate and amplifies all three variables. All right. So phase one, AI creates more visibility faster. AI does not replace your marketing. It acts as a distribution engine for your expertise. So one of the things that a lot of people do is create 10 LinkedIn posts for coaches who want more clients. Or turn my 60-minute webinar into 20 social media posts. So that one right there is a perfect prompt for you to create content. I've done that before. I will take my workshops, I will take a webinar, and I will take the transcript and turn it into social media posts all day long. I'll turn it into articles, I'll turn it into like quotes, social media posts. I'll turn it into podcast episodes. But the thing about it is I'm actually using my content. Sorry, I went the wrong way. All right. So here's your traditional methods. Here is how AI can empower the visibility for you. So gone are the days where we spend 4 hours writing content, staring at a blank page, and then using one single social media channel. So I've already shared with you, you can use one video. I was just sharing, like I'd love to go live. So I take that one live video and I convert it into 20 posts in less than 30 seconds. I pull reels out of it. I pull 3 to 5 or 5 to 7 minute videos out of it. You best believe that even this training today, we'll pull some snippets out of here and you won't see this content again because it speaks to my ideal client. I could turn this entire presentation into multiple different podcast episodes and multiple different articles as well. And so what that does is it helps me create this omnipresence. So I'll take one piece of content and I can remember the 7-11-4. I can show up on 4 different platforms at a minimum. All right. Just by one piece of content. I keep going the wrong way. Why is it going back the other way? All right. Okay. So like I was saying, that one piece of content, remember the 7-11-4. So this is going to help you build the trust with your ideal clients. And so people don't buy because they know you, they buy because they trust you. So remember, if you don't like videos, you better start doing some podcasts or something. Because what happens is when you come across somebody's screen or social media, they are going to go find you. They're going to do the research on you and they're going to consume 7 hours of content. I'm not saying they're going to do it all in one day, but they're going to be looking for content from you to consume. And so your touch points can consist of emails, newsletters, SMS, social media, podcasts, being on somebody else's podcast, being live at events. So how can you touch that one particular lead 11 different ways, all right? And then across 4 different platforms. So ultimately, you want to get them on your database so you can email them. You want them to subscribe to like your newsletter so they're getting your content. And then they're going to see you on social media as well, and maybe even listen to a podcast. So one of my most recent podcast episodes got over 100 downloads because it's pinned to my homepage on LinkedIn. And so I know Dr. April found me from a LinkedIn event. And so just by me literally posting my podcast episode on LinkedIn, which is crazy, I found that, it had 100 downloads. People were going to listen to my content. I was like, okay, let me put some more up there. And so here's four different, what is this? Ensuring no prospect is ever, AI can help you draft your emails. Like you can put your transcript into AI and it will help you draft your follow-up emails. I love Fathom. So I use Fathom in all of my Zoom calls. And Fathom gives you the transcript. Matter of fact, if you're watching the replay, if you're here live, I can give you my AI agent. All you have to do is comment agent, and I will give you my webinar AI agent. What it does is after your event, whether it's a webinar, a workshop, it will assess your hot, warm, and cold leads, and then it will prepare the email to follow up with them. All from just uploading the chat from your workshop. All right. But so I use Fathom. I don't think I pay anything for Fathom. And it does automatically transcribes my calls and it summarizes my workshops or client calls. You can also use AI to research. So it scans and summarizes prospects' backgrounds. So since October 2025, we've been intentional. You got it. We've been intentional about LinkedIn. So we use AI to scan all of our connections and the conversations that we're having on LinkedIn because we want to make sure that we are having conversations with people who are our ideal client. All right. The last one was the CRM reminders. So AI can help automated tracking of who attended webinars, downloaded your lead magnets, and needs follow up. I use a white label version of high level, and I'm sorry if I'm talking fast. But I use a white label of high level. So I've connected my AI agent to high level, and it will go in and tell me, Dakisha, you got $245,000 worth of leads on the table. I about fell out, y'all. I about fell out. And so guess what you know what we're doing? We're getting ready to put together a whole follow-up sequence in order to follow up with those leads. All right. So phase three, AI prepares you to close the sale. So AI does not close the sale, but it will help you. So for example, I have mine connected to my CRM. So I can have it run a report for me. What's my open rate? Can you give me a list of who opened my most recent emails today? Perfect example. I had calls all day today. You know what I did? I told her, I said, listen, go look at my calendar. Tell me who I have a call with. Compare that to the report that we pulled for LinkedIn. Are they on that list? So basically, it's telling me where they came from, how they got on my calendar, and what in the world they doing on my calendar. And it told me this is your hottest person that is your ideal client. And it actually said you might want to consider, do you still want to have the other calls with the other individuals? But some of them were Coffee Connect. So yes, I did keep them. And if I was doing a sales call, I would have it go back and listen to like a discovery session that I've done with the person and pull out any objections and the language that you use. So these are just some of the things that I utilize my AI for. And it's not just to write emails and write follow up. Again, I'm a strategic thinker. So I'm looking at can I use AI to amplify what it is that I do as a business strategist. So I use AI to find the exact information that I need as a CEO to close the deal. All right. So as we wrap this up and bring this to a close, I appreciate you guys being here. The five engine AI enrollment architecture. So you have your visibility. You should be using AI to help you create content and distribute that content. So our CRM will actually schedule our content for us. Like, Lord have mercy, it is making life so much easier. Lead capture. So we use AI to actually build lead capture pages and stuff like that now. Matter of fact, I think I used it today to create a page. Nurture engine, emails, SMS, intelligent follow-up, appointments. So this is a conversion engine, appointments, sales calls, proposals, client experience, onboarding, project management, and communication. Now I'm going to show you how you can use AI at each one of those points in the process. All right. So, um, utilizing content for content generation. You can automate, capture, and categorize. So even when the lead gets into your CRM, you can have a scoring system where it is scoring your leads so that you are only engaging with your hottest leads. Um, when you do your webinar, you can have an AI triggered follow up sequence. If you have an appointment setting system, make sure that you utilize some type of note taking system. When we do our 2 day accelerator, I make them bring 4 call transcriptions because we have an exercise that we do in the 2 days together about those four calls. And then delivery. So once you get a new client, we want to make sure that the onboarding is automated. We don't want to lose any clients out here. All right. So level one, and you can decide where you are. So you need an AI assistant. This is where you start. So you might be using ChatGPT for ideation or ideas. One of the things that I want you to start looking at is how can you incorporate or how can you incorporate your Gmail account or your calendar integrations into ChatGPT and or Claude. I use Claude more than I use ChatGPT, y'all. None against it. What I like to say is ChatGPT is a bachelor's, Claude is a master's, and Perplexity is a PhD. That's how I look at them. Okay. So the next level. So I'm helping individuals start here. If you need an AI assistant to implement this process so that you can stop, allowing leads to fall out of your funnel. I couldn't think of the name. We're gonna start here. So we're doing a workshop for $67 to implement your first AI assistant. And it can be for um, one of the five engines. So if you want your AI assistant for visibility, if you want your AI assistant, let me go back and show you. There you go. So if you want your AI assistant for visibility, if you want your AI assistant to help with nurturing, if you already have clients and you're like, listen, I need my AI assistant to help with our delivery, that's okay as well. Now, for the person that's a little bit more advanced, is like Dakisha, I already have a GPT or what's some things called? A custom GPT. I'm like, all right, cool. So what if we take it to the next level? For level two, again, I'm an operations person. So not only do you have one AI assistant, now we're putting multiple AI assistants to work for you in your business. And so now we want to integrate your CRM system with Claude, with ChatGPT, so that you can listen. You should be able to literally run your business from your cell phone. And I mean, like, I talk to Claude and be like, pull this report, da 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 da, give me an analysis, and things like that. And I literally did that. Don't tell nobody all the way down to Durham. Luckily, you can talk into like ChatGPT and Claude. I promise I wasn't driving and typing. Okay. But that's where we're going. And so we want to make sure that you are not the bottleneck of your business. I know what it is to be the bottleneck of your business. And so level two is setting up multiple AI agents for you in your business. We're not going to get to level three until you mastered level one. So if you're interested in finding out more about our $67 workshop, where it's a 2 hour workshop where we're setting up your first AI assistant, either to help you create the content in your business, to help you create the launch in your business. Like, for an example, every Monday, my social media content is created for me and it's automated. I've already put in the themes, I've already put in my tone of voice and all of that. And every Monday, I get new content created. I don't have to worry about it anymore. All right. Every morning at 6:30, a report is sent to Slack about what the team should be working on every single day. That's more of operations. Every week, we send out a report to clients, and I get one for me. Here are the top ICP, ideal client profiles that you should be engaging with. That is an AI assistant that's doing that for me. So that is the whole purpose of literally um, adding the AI to the client enrollment process. So no more working long hours. I know I just saved somebody right there. No more relying on memory for following up or guessing what to write. Let's use AI to amplify instant visibility creation, trust building touch points, perfect your prospect like recall. So that's your transcripts and things like that. And then fully supported conversion readiness. This is where AI amplifies the entire process and you're not utilizing it as like a VA where you're like, oh, ChatGPT is waiting for you to ask it to do something. Mine operate without me having to tell it, and that's how I'm just trying to help you get there. So you got your level one with the AI setup guide, prompt library, your integration with different platforms that you use on a regular basis, and I'll even show you how to implement like the Fathom. And level two will show you how to automate. Anything that's automated is level two. So you got your basic level, level one. I'll show you how to connect certain apps that you're using to your AI of choice. And then we'll give you like the SOPs and the prompt libraries that you can utilize to make this process easier to enroll clients consistently. Or level two, if you're like, all right, I got that, I need a little bit of more automation. I'll show you how you can integrate like your communication platform, your CRM platform, and connect it with your AI of choice. So that completes our training for today. Hopefully that has been an aha for you. Again, I appreciate those that are hanging out. Ms. Dr. April is hanging out here in Zoom. The future of enrollment, the businesses that win over the next 5 years won't be the businesses with the most AI. They'll be the businesses that use AI to create more conversations, build more relationships, and enroll more clients. So, again, if you want the webinar agent, comment agent. If you want to participate in level one or level two, just type level one, level two in the chat, and we'll just shoot you a link to get signed up for our upcoming workshop. We'll make sure we get the agent out to you, Dr. April. With that being said, my name is Dakisha Williams, your business and webinar strategist. Be passionate, be purposeful, but more importantly, be profitable. I'll see you guys next time.